Welcome, everybody, to Spirituality Adventures. This is a non-judgmental place to explore spirituality, and we're so glad you're here. This is a viewer and listener-supported podcast, so we greatly appreciate your support. If you're watching on YouTube, be sure and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, share, and subscribe to any of the social media content platforms that you're using. And then if you go to our website, spiritualityadventures.com, you can make a one-time donation, or with a monthly subscription, you'll gain access to our bonus content. We greatly appreciate it. Thank you for tuning in. Welcome, everybody, to Spirituality Adventures. We're glad you joined us for this episode, and we're excited to have Tiffany Woodruff with us today.
Hello.
Thank you, Tiffany, for joining us.
Yeah.
So, Tiffany, you are the first fashion designer
Woohoo.
that I have had the privilege of interviewing.
Thank you.
And that was so fun because I always try to do a little bit of research before I interview somebody. And so it was just kind of a fun world to dive into a little bit.
Yeah. Get a little bit of wing spread in that industry.
Yeah. And I mean, I would not say that I'm, a fashionista by any stretch of the means, but I've always had an interest in it.
Yeah.
I still get a GQ magazine.
Oh, good.
Like paper magazine,
I love it.
And of course I get their online stuff, but it's just because I like looking at style. Yeah. And I like looking at, what's going on. And and so the fashion industry is a fascinating world.
It is. It's become my whole life. It started out as a place for comfort for me because I didn't really know who I was, and clothes always made me feel very comfortable expressing myself, even though I didn't have to voice anything. My clothes spoke for me. So even though I felt different, I didn't have to say that. You're going to see that I look different in suburbia, and I always felt different. And I think fashion provided me that space where it's like, okay, I'm not the only one wearing weird stuff here. Like, there are people out there who put together weird textures and designs and patterns and think it looks cool. So it's become my home. And I think a lot of people there's a bad taste in people's mouths about the fashion industry. And I think it's evolved a lot, and it's sparking people's interest because there's so much collaboration right now. Fashion's not just fashion now. It's art, it's music, it's all around us. Mm-hmm. So I think people are becoming more aware, their eyes are leaning towards those unique patterns, but fashion's my home. As you can tell, I can talk about it all day. No,
that's what we're here to do. So before we jump into that, let's, where are you from? Where'd you grow up? And give us a little bit of your background story.
Okay.
And how you got into fashion, but start with where you were born.
Okay. I was born in Lancaster, California. We lived there, me and my family, for 2 years.
Serious?
Yeah. And then we moved to Missouri.
Do you know I've actually preached at a church in Lancaster, California. There's a Vineyard Church in Lancaster.
I've been to that one.
Have you really?
Yes, with my grandparents.
I've preached there.
They still live there. So I was actually just there for Christmas. So
no way.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know the guy that founded that, and then he died of cancer. I know the guy that's the pastor there now.
What a small world.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, anyway. my family's got a lot of Christian roots.
Okay.
So.
Wow. Lancaster, the desert.
Not quite where people imagine me coming from. They say LA when I say California. I'm like, not really.
Where'd you go from Lancaster?
Well, once my parents decided they wanted to focus fully on, our upbringing, that's when they decided to move towards the Midwest. I know the Blue Valley School District at that time was like the top 10 in the country for education. So they were really just trying to give us a better life, a better opportunity than they did in the LA school district. So they quickly got out of there. My dad moved to the Missouri side and started his mortgage company by himself and built it from the ground up. And now they're still in Kansas, and I've stayed there my whole life. So
wow. So did your mom and dad move to Blue Springs from Lancaster?
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 2.
Holy crud.
Yeah, wow. I was very young.
And did they have connection here, family here? What? Like, why in the world would you pick blue?
I know,
Blue
so
Springs
random. Well, my aunt was the first one who moved out of California. My whole family, my mom and dad's side, are both over there. So my aunt moved, and then my mom closely followed and was like, my aunt was raving about it, saying, everyone's so nice here. Like, it's so quiet. There's no traffic. And everyone shortly followed. Pretty much everyone except for my grandparents came to Kansas. So
awesome.
Yeah.
So did you graduate from Blue Valley? Or, I mean, not Blue Valley, Blue Springs.
It was Blue Valley.
Oh, it was Blue Valley.
Yeah. Okay. I graduated from Blue Valley West High School in 2011.
Okay.
I started my soccer career, when I was very young, but I played soccer in high school, which is how I got my scholarship. Ended up in Western Michigan, of all places.
Playing
for
soccer?
My scholarship. Yeah.
Wow.
Kalamazoo. But it was a great experience.
Did you do all 4 years?
No, I just did 2.
Okay.
Yeah, I did 2. I got sick my second year and decided I wanted to focus on my health and live a normal life.
I just interviewed the COO of Sporting KC.
Oh, really?
2 weeks ago.
Fun.
He's been there for 10 years. So he started there in 2012.
Yeah.
Right. So it was really...
Sporting KC was like...
really fun.
A very highlighted moment in my life, just knowing it was possible. Okay, finally Kansas City.
Yeah.
Got some soccer going on. Like, someone's doing something out there.
such a great organization, too.
Absolutely.
Now. They really do a great job.
They do.
Well, cool. So what got you interested in fashion? How young, how old were you when you started, like...
I would say, I think really where it began for me was when we were in high school and in middle school. We didn't have a lot of newer clothes. I had my selection of secondhand clothing that was from St. Louis from my cousins, and then my cousins in California, and that was what I had to wear and what I had to work with. And obviously the styles in those places are very different than out here. So I got sent some unique things, some other tastes that I'm like, I don't know if I'd wear that, but if I wear it with this, maybe it'll look all right. Like, it'll look more like me. So I was always mixing and bleaching and cutting and hand sewing little pieces just so it would fit me. So that little creative kind of working with what I got is where it started.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So I'm curious because, like, growing up, and you're, the peer pressure and who's wearing what and who has, that whole scene.
Yes.
The young.
Yes.
Who's got the money to wear the nice, all that kind of stuff. So how did that play into your interest? Were you already at a young age more trying to express your individuality?
Yeah. Okay. I think there was an inner part of me that was kind of crying out because I didn't have those clothes around me. I always was, a little different. I didn't have that, Abercrombie and Fitch at the time with the Hollister jeans and that was the thing.
Okay.
And my family couldn't afford that. So wearing what I had, making it look better than the Hollister jeans and for free was really, it made me feel good. And I was proud to wear what I had on. I felt cool. It didn't matter what they had on. I was always like, well, my outfit's better than yours. I don't need to pay $100 out of my parents' pocket. I'm going to do it myself. So, but from there, the tomboy side of me, that kind of combined with those weird textures that my cousins would send me and those crocheted dresses that she would send me. I'd find a way to kind of integrate that into my tomboy side because I was a soccer player through and through. That was my job. So wearing the comfy sweats, wearing the, baggy hoodies and a ball cap, that's always kind of been my thing. But I wanted to make it different, always making it different. So did you just, was that a part of you from that point on? Like that literally has been a part of you and how you express yourself? Absolutely. The thrift store. My mom, whenever it would be back to school day in our picture outfit, we'd be at the thrift store. We're going to the ones in Leawood. We're going to the ones in Mission Hills. We're going to estate sales, getting those nicer clothes and trying to make it work for us. And that was a really fun experience. What years would that be? I want to say 13 is really when we started going estate sailing. Because I'm trying to think, when did these places that like these
little franchise places that do secondhand clothing started popping up everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe 10 years ago, or
I'd say
that long ago?
2014 was really when
what are some of the, like Ditto and I don't know
Ditto,
all these names,
who's the other one? They're here in Kansas City. I forget the name.
There's some Asian gal that went to my church that owned one of those franchises.
Yeah.
So,
and it started that way, you know. I think that's really where it began, was profiting off of, which is kind of sad, but it's resale. So there's a good impact that can be made by that, for sure. When
did Macklemore come out with this song?
Oh, the thrift store song. Man, when was that? 2000.
He really made it cool.
He really did. Yeah, he's like, I got it for 20 cents at the thrift store or something. That lyric, I was like, 2012. I had a feeling it was after I graduated.
Pop some tags.
I'm gonna pop some tags. I love it. That was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So cool. So you guys started just combing the stores.
Oh yeah.
And then were you always what do you call it? Upcycling everything?
Pretty much.
Creatively?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, just for myself, it was starting as myself. And then as I got, more into it, I'm like, well, I want a sewing machine to be able to do that. And I want a sewing machine to be able to do that. So I got a $25 sewing machine from 1975.
What kind?
It was a Singer Fashion Mate. I went with my grandma. I used her discount.
My mom's 85. She's going to like listening to this.
Good.
She had a Singer sewing machine.
I love it.
So crazy.
Yeah, it's mint green. It came in the original like maple wood casing. Oh my gosh, it's super cool. And it was in perfect condition.
So cool.
Yeah. So that's how I started learning to sew. Yeah.
You taught yourself?
Yes.
Did you do YouTube videos?
Oh, yeah. YouTube University, the Brother Hotline, the Singer Hotline, the Viking Hotline, everybody I could call.
Isn't it amazing what you can learn doing that, though?
Oh, yeah. YouTube University all the way.
It's a lot cheaper than, Harvard.
Yeah, I'd say. It took me longer. Don't get me wrong. And I'm now a student at Parsons, so I just do part-time on their streetwear essentials complex class.
Say this again?
It's the complex. It's basically a conglomerate that combines creatives, and they're nationally known. But they partnered with Parsons, which is the School of Fashion, and they combined to make this streetwear essentials certificate class.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm kind of learning about the business side, the growing evolution of streetwear, and also like entrepreneurship.
So give us an education on the history of streetwear.
Ooh,
yeah.
That's a great question. For me, my origination that I deem important to me was the 90s, early 90s, late 80s. And I even go back to the early 1920s for inspiration. But I think streetwear really started like around music. That was really where hip hop culture, street really found its way. You see Run DMC and the, shell-toed Adidas, and that really was the first time we saw those big fashion moments take place, and people are like, oh, now I gotta get those shell-toed shoes with the wide laces, and they're sitting at home combing the laces to make sure they're wide, just like Run DMC's were. And you see Dapper Dan in New York, he really took Gucci, Louis Vuitton, and he flipped that whole industry on its side, and he made it for rappers, for musicians in the scene. And that's where for me I feel like streetwear began.
So when you say go back to 1920s, like I'm thinking Peaky Blinders or Peaky
Blinders. Oh yeah.
I love that show.
It's so good. It's so good. And the stylist in that show,
it's like gangwear.
Yes,
a little
absolutely.
bit, right?
Yes.
I mean, even that.
There's lots of little notions.
The clothing of that thing is cool.
Yes, very cool.
Interesting. But
I have a lot of inspiration through history, but I think streetwear in particular was music oriented.
Yeah.
That's really where it got its cover.
Huh. So cool. So, and then, but it's mainstreamed in some ways, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think I think the culture I connect with in the fashion industry isn't what you're probably referring to. There's lots of different industries underneath fashion.
Just help us understand that, because I'm pretty ignorant. So,
well, the streetwear community is now growing. There's the couture, there's the ready to wear fashion designers, there's the loungewear, there's comfort wear. Athleisure is a big thing right now. So I think the fashion industry as a whole is becoming more streetwear in its origination, whether they're willing to admit it or not. But that's where the future is going, is by recycling those old designs, right? So you see these $300 vintage Pink Floyd shirts being worn by A$AP Fergie and all of them. They're recycling those original designs. They're creating an image that's from the past, but creating this modern way, right? And I think a lot of designers, fashion brands are starting to notice that and saying, well, we need to take our brand there, and that's where it's going. We need to recycle more, and I think the impact comes along with it. But streetwear now is becoming couture. It's becoming, you see Ralph Lauren pairing with brands, and Gucci and Louis Vuitton, all these big brands that are finally collaborating, but they're using original designs. They're going back into their archives and looking at patterns of designs that they did back in 1925 when they first started, and regenerating those ideas, which is awesome.
And then a part of what you literally are hands-on with every piece that you sell. Is that right?
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. So tell us about that a little bit, because you're finding, where do you find your pieces now, your items that and then what do you do with them? What do you try to put into every piece of garment that you sell, and how does that? What are you trying?
What does that process look like?
Yeah.
It's kind of a pigmented, chaotic process. I've put organization to it now with my business. But I have and collect, things that'll catch my eye over the years, and I won't touch that thing again for maybe 3-4 years, but I'll hold on to it and keep everything I have. Every fabric I have is still locked in my archives and my inventory back there somewhere, and I'll think of that piece and go back to it. And but I think really where I take it from that step to the touching it phase.
It's like my books.
Yeah.
I've got all these thousands of books. And,
I collect them.
And I have this weird, like if I'm preparing something or writing something, I'll remember a book from 20 years ago and go find it and pull it out and get something from it and then put it back.
Yep. I do
so
the
you
same
do that
thing.
with clothing and
absolutely
with fabrics and fascinating.
But I gather things that you don't normally find, or originals that remind me of a picture of Marilyn Monroe back in the day. I mean, I get inspiration from mostly history, but there's fabrics that remind me of certain outfits or icon moments or whatever back in history, and I try to put a little flair to it.
So like you see something in a movie, you see something in a online magazine,
or on the street,
or you see somebody's wearing, and it just clicks in you.
Yeah. And then I'm like, ooh, I have a vest at home that I think I could really make that look even more like fashion forward. Like you could take a normal vest and make it look very amazing with the correct color swatches, the correct color patterns. But the things I decide to sew on to each garment that is my most delicate process. So I have bins of scrap fabrics that I'll lay on top of them and be like, no, that doesn't work. Yep, that looks good. I kind of want to put some gold thread on there, or a white button to match this. It's kind of all colors. I love matching colors, but in a very subtle way that's still bold.
Wow.
There's a lot to unpack in that process.
So what kind of a process do you go through now to do you have a hunting process of finding fabrics and clothing and all kinds? Do you give your secrets away, or is there things you like, at least in general?
Well, in Portland, and I know they have it here, the Goodwill has at the main warehouse, they have the bins, which get exchanged like every 30 minutes, and you wait in line, and then they bring all new bins out and you get them by the pound. So you can get clothes, fabrics, shoes, random things that are just left at the warehouse. And that's a really good spot to find stuff if you need it by the pound, or if I'm looking for, denim in excess because I want to make a denim patchwork jacket out of recycled fabric. I'll go there for that, just to get it in bulk. It doesn't matter what it looks like. I'm gonna bring it back to new anyway. So that's a good spot. And I love estate sales. Estate sales are really good. Right now, I actually met a lady on Facebook Marketplace, which is another good source I use for kind of construction wear or technical wear, even like tactical wear, like military stuff. You can find a lot of good stuff on Facebook Marketplace. But anyways, I got in touch with a lady on there that I was buying a bunch of fabric from her by the pound. And I've stayed in contact with her, and she's been my source now. She's my shopper. Wow. Yeah. So she's local and she loves supporting my brand. And yeah, it's a nice little relationship I built off of that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, like the piece you're wearing now.
This is 2 hoodies combined.
Tell us about it.
Well, I actually am making a Snapchat filter that will have this as, a wearable piece in the filter that anyone can wear and try on. It'll have my logo on it. But this is a sample. So it's my first time wearing it, trying it out, seeing how it feels. I plan to mass produce it, hopefully with the Snapchat filter rollout. So interesting. Yeah.
And how long have you been doing Thrifted Tiff, right?
Yes.
Everybody go to thriftedtiff.com.
Yes, sir. That is it. I have had the business for 2 years. I have had my Instagram account though for 4 years. So originally when I started with the Thrifted Tiff account.
Is Instagram the same thing? Instagram?
No, it was kind of my way of my providing that was my own platform. Like,
is it under your name? Is it at?
Yeah,
Tiffany?
at Thrifted Tiff was my original handle.
So if somebody gets you on Instagram, they go to Thrifted Tiff?
Yeah.
And on your website?
On my website, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And all the purchases go through your website, is that right?
Yes. And you can also purchase through Instagram or Facebook. It's pretty much widespread purchasable. So
it's women's clothing only?
No, a lot of it is unisex. Okay. So I really pride myself on that. I try to make as much unisex wear as I can. Okay. I think having something comfortable and accessible for everyone to buy more sustainably is really where I'm trying to have impact. So what, like in the 4 years you've been doing this, what have been some of your high points for where you've seen your clothing go? I'm just curious. I love to talk about these. Well, when I was in Portland, I got to do consignment with one of the first streetwear stores ever in Chinatown. And they started with a couple racks, and now they're full. I mean, they have no more room for consigners. But when I started with them, they actually asked me to come on as the first female consigner in their store. It was like one of 14, and then I grew to one of 37 vendors, and I outsold all of them in my first month. And that was a very, very good moment for me. I was so proud of myself. I worked so hard on that collection, and it felt good to know that other people saw it the way I did, because it is art. It's a unique taste, and Portland has a lot of that. They have Nike headquarters there. They've got their own fashion week. They've got very, very high-end clientele as well. So it's a good mixture of street and kind of that high-end leisure wear too. Cool. So it was fun. It was a great experience. Awesome. Yeah. Is there another one? Yeah, I've got a few. Yeah. No, tell us, recently, brag a little bit if you would. Okay. I hate bragging. I want you to, though. I want to hear. Okay. Well, recently, I'll start from the beginning of this story because it's a fun one that I like to share lately. When I first moved back from Portland, this was in October. I think September or October is when I moved back from Portland to make Kansas my home again. my first goal before I even left Oregon was I need to get to Tech 9. Like, I want to design him something really, really cool.
Sweet.
And really like give him thanks. He was on his 65th tour, and he was doing his last show in Kansas City. So I'm like, I'm calling my boyfriend, like, we need to get the meet and greet. I need to get the shirt to him. So I spent like 36 hours making this one piece shirt out of a vintage, one of his first tour shirts that I had found ironically in the thrift store. And it was a beautiful shirt in perfect condition. So I took that opportunity to put my time in over that 24 hours. We went to the concert. I met Tech and all the other strange artists. But one of the artists I had met, which that moment was amazing and great, and I'll never forget it. But followed by many more great moments, I met all the other artists and had an opportunity to kind of talk to them and be like, hey, I'm a local, stylist, designer, anything you might need if you're in Kansas City, like, hit me up. I'd love to help you out. I'd love to help you out. So Maze 301 is one of the new artists that is a part of Strange Music. And I got the opportunity of being asked to go on set for his music video and styling all his outfits for the music video. Yeah, that was very, very, very fun. But
who was the videographer on that?
Cameron Cox and Chris. Chris Commons.
Yeah. You know these guys, Matt? Yeah. Yeah, they were there, and Sweet. It was cool to watch them all operate in the back end and how creatively everybody worked together. It was amazing to watch. Very cool. Yeah. I interviewed one guy that worked at Chapman Studios. That was, I think didn't Tech 9 work there some before he started Strange?
Well, that's where he recorded all of his stuff before he built his studio.
Yeah, before him and Travis.
So Alex Sardiano, Smart Alec. I don't know if you come across him. You ought to, because he's a producer and engineer and
cool.
Does his own stuff too. Rap guy, but he graduated from North Kansas City.
Nice,
Italian guy. So anyway, but yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
How cool is that?
It was very fun.
That's a fast door that opened for you. It's like kind of serendipitous that you found that piece of clothing.
Yeah, very much so.
That's so cool.
And that one piece I made for Tech ended up leading to me making this. I mean, it was one of my favorite pieces I think I've ever made. But I made a Prairie Ghosts button up that I rehabbed and threw all these other pockets on. I put don't look for change, be the change, which was consistent in my latest collection that I dropped. I put that on the shirt, and I got to put my big thrifted Tiff on the back. And when he put it on, he just, watching his face, I think that was probably the best moment. Not just the music video, getting the opportunity, but watching him put it on and really feeling like this is exactly how I wanted to express myself in this song. It was like, it was serendipitous to him too, so it ended up working out great. And then from there, now I'm designing, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but I'm designing for another music video under Strange, which is coming up here in the next 2 weeks. So
very cool.
That's on my docket too. Yeah.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's been a fun road. Lots of learning. Yeah. I do tell you that.
So where have your clothing, where has it gone? Around the world? Have you found pieces?
Canada.
We're going to get some in Ethiopia here soon.
Yeah, in Ethiopia. That'll be there soon. Ireland has been creeping on my brand for a while, which is very strange, but they're one of the international viewers of my business. My first sale on my website was out of Canada. Okay. So that was another exciting moment.
It's kind of fun to see, Yeah.
You kind of get to trace who's looking.
Right.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's been a cool process.
That's cool. Well, let's talk a little bit about creativity.
Okay.
Because I just wrote a blog a couple of weeks ago called Creativity and Spirituality. And I basically said they're the same stream.
Yeah.
And I really do think that creativity and spirituality flow together, or maybe even the same thing.
Yeah.
And whatever one's view is of how this whole world came about, even like if it's 15 billion year old, universe, and all this has evolved.
Yeah.
From stardust.
Yeah, right.
And to think about the creative energy.
Yeah.
For billions of years.
Absolutely.
Or if you're from one of the traditional backgrounds, faith backgrounds, where you're thinking like in the beginning, God created. Mm-hmm. It's right off the bat. Yeah. It's in the first verse.
Right. Genesis.
Of the Jewish Bible, the Hebrew Bible, yeah. Right? Mm-hmm. God created. And then that whole section there is poetry. Mm-hmm. It's Hebrew poetry. And it's this creative energy and flow, I think, of the universe, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so, and then I had something really fun here recently. So I never thought of myself as creative, even though I was teaching and I would mash up the scriptures with video clips and people's stories. But honestly, I don't know why I never thought of that as creative. And then I read years ago, I can't remember, 2012 or something, there's a book came out called Steal Like an Artist by Austin Kleon.
Okay.
It's a simple little read. In fact, I'll give you a copy of it before you leave. I bought boxes of it and gave them away because he was the first time I read something and I realized, oh God, I'm creative, because it's Steal Like an Artist. It's like his idea is that every idea has come from someplace. Yeah. Right?
Absolutely.
And so what inspires you uniquely, and then you take that and then you mash it up, mix it up, and but musicians do that. Yeah. Everybody does that. And I realized, gosh, that's what I've done for so many years in a different format, different genre. Yeah. So that kind of got me thinking of like, oh my gosh, everybody's creative in some way or another, right? And there's a spiritual component to that, like, because I like to think about spirituality as connection to self, others, and something greater. Right. And so then I ran across a book recently by a gal named Julia Cameron called The Artist's Way. Mm-hmm. And this came out in what decade? What century? 1992. Okay. Well, it turns out like she was writing for Rolling Stone, and then she married Martin Scorsese. Oh wow! And then they're not married anymore. But then she was a writer, a poet. She wrote movies, scripts, all kinds of stuff. But she hit the road of alcohol and cocaine and all that, and ended up going into recovery after 10 years of all of that. And she ended up taking recovery principles and applying it to blocked artists. And so wrote this spiritual book about creativity called The Artist's Way. Like Elizabeth Gilbert, wrote Eat, Love, Pray and all that. She says that wouldn't exist without this book. And she's been like for 3 decades. And I just found this book. And I've just been reading it myself for the first time. Oh, awesome. And her book publicist, I happened to run across her book publicist who knows a friend of mine, and he just sent me an advanced copy of her new book, Julia Cameron's new book called Seeking Wisdom. But my point in all this with you is that I love talking about creativity and what inspires you and how that unpacks in you around what you do in your work. Like, how do your spiritual journey, how does that, does it tie in? Do you think about those absolutely things? I'm just curious.
Yeah, 100%. I think I rely on my spirituality and my energy wherever it is at any moment. I rely on that to make my decisions about my day, to make the decisions of what project I take on, what fabric I choose, what mood I'm in. I think creativity and spirituality for me has become more pressing and more at the forefront of my brain in the last 2 years than it has ever in my life. I realize that my creativity in my younger adulthood, that I kind of I felt a little ashamed of it. You know, my family's very conservative. They're very cut and dry type of style. And I always felt very different and unique compared to not only my teammates, my schoolmates, like my family, even through and through. That was where I was trying to silence it as much as I could. As I became an adult and I moved to Michigan, had to figure out who I was by myself. I'm like, I actually like this side of me. It makes me feel comforted. It makes me feel safe. And I wanted to venture more into that because it was making me feel good. And I'm like, why is it feels like such a home? Yeah. And that was where I began my spiritual awakening. It was like, who are you? Like, who are you really? You know? And I spent a lot of my time wondering and being scared of who I was. And I was at a point now where I was forced to embrace who I was. And as that happened, things didn't feel so monotonous. They didn't feel so drug out. I was enjoying each moment more. And if I had a moment that hurt, it hurt more. And I allowed that space in my spiritual to resonate with that. Let it, you know, do its thing, because you got to do that. Yeah. And then you got to put your pants on and move forward, you know, like buckle up and move forward. Yeah. And that's the conservative voice inside my head from my parents saying, like, you're fine. Like, you're going to be okay. Like, get up, move on, get on to the next task. Right. We have like goals to knock out. So I battle this, like, okay, it's okay, be more graceful with yourself. And then it's like, no, go. We got the world to conquer, you know? So that was my spiritual, I think, journey and fight together.
So, you know, Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way book, she talks about how so many artists are not encouraged.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's rare for somebody to grow up in America in a home that's encouraging artistic endeavors, allowing young people to express themselves, and actually even maybe helping them think that they could even make a living or at least anything out of that, and then to be encouraged. So then so many artists end up burying these
skills,
these dreams, these gifts, these passions, the uniqueness of who they are.
Absolutely.
And so that's so fascinating to me, and I'm so crazy that I'm just finding this book, but her deal was to help unlock, her whole purpose was to help unlock that blocked artist in everyone.
Yeah. I thought
that's a beautiful thing.
Right? I think that's very beautiful. I find resonance with that in my brand and my business, because what I'm doing is filling the gap that I needed filled in my life, and creating a space where everyone's okay. You know, you're comfortable being weird. Come on over here. Like, you're all right. You know, you're not weird. This is you. Be okay. Like, you're okay, you know? And I'm creating that voice for others because I didn't have it. And I think I found that with as my skills grew better, and as I realized there was impact behind what I was doing, I'm like, this is bigger than me, and I want to use my platform to have that impact and empower others to fight that, you know, because it requires a lot of bravery to go against the grain and to be constantly told, or maybe even not told any words of encouragement. And sometimes I have a lot of peers who were encouraged and didn't choose to, you know? So I think there's a lot of balance in the pain that I felt and the hunger that came from it. It wasn't like I can't sit with this anymore. I have to follow this. I have to make this a space for other people like me, you know?
Yeah. So you've really seen what you're doing not only is about fashion, but it's about empowering women in particular to walk out some of their creativity, some of their dreams, some of their individuality.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely.
What if you had to, as you've worked in this area, women and empowering women, what would you say are some of the biggest, 2 or 3 of the top biggest blocks for women and their creativity and even empowering women? What would three of maybe 2 or 3 of the biggest obstacles?
Okay.
Or
obstacles to feeling empowered. Kind of.
Yeah. What would be the maybe 2 or 3 of the top ones?
Sadly enough, I would say the first one would be just the male opinion and word inside the women's industry will frighten you. And who's actually making their outfits, these Fashion Nova outfits, these outfits that aren't even comfortable for women. They don't enjoy wearing them. They don't feel themselves, but feel the need to wear this, right? They feel the need to wear these outfits that almost objectify them, which is what they're not trying to have, you know? So it's this conflict of, okay, well, if I wear this, I'm going to fit in and look good on Instagram, but it's not really what I align with in my real life. And I think a lot of women battle that. The social media is not positive in that running either. So I think women battle this societal expectation of what we're supposed to look like and what is sexy and what is cute and what makes us who we are. And I think whatever makes you do that. You know, like, don't go wear that Fashion Nova outfit. Don't go wear the same thing that Kim K had on last weekend. Like, let's wear something different, like something comfortable, something that you like. Pick it out yourself. Take the time to go find that piece. Like, find enjoyment in it. There's a spiritual journey in connecting with something that you wear that you feel super great in. Like, when I feel good, I work well. I communicate well. I do better in my day-to-day life when I feel comfortable. And what other people see is not, oh, she's comfortable. It's, she's weird, you know, like, she's different. Like, everyone notices that, but that's okay.
Yeah. So the sort of patriarchal world that we live in, like, there's still men in high places that have great influence. And even in the fashion industry.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yes, they do.
And sometimes that silences voices or takes people down paths that they really don't resonate with who they are.
Right. Yeah. And social media, again, is, I think, the second probably biggest thing. So the people up above, the people who are making these outfits on social media to make them mass produced, purchasable.
So those are kind of like external things that can, you know, be obstacles. What about internal obstacles in women? Like their own, like stuff going on in their own heart, mind. If I'm speaking on my own behalf, and I know this is common from the women that I've spoken to and with, a lot of my past can be a part of a present in a different way. I think that's not only with women. I think that's with everyone. Sometimes people let things from their past determine what actions you take today, you know, and it's your choice whether to make it a positive or negative one, or to let the past impact you in this way or that way. Mental health right now is a huge crisis in the world. Not just women, but men. I think women specifically go through unique experiences that make them make choices on what they wear, what their external looks like, because of this, you know, background voice or background social media picture, or what they envision, or what they're being shown as what success looks like, or, you know, only being shown or filtered on your news feed these outfits that Fashion Nova is putting out that only cover a fourth of your body, you know? And so there's a lot of external voices that will create a voice internally. And it does create a big influence on the decisions people make. So, but women in particular, I really want to start seeing women feel comfortable being comfortable. Yeah. Have you created any kind of a network for empowering women at all? Or is there's like, Is there something?
Yeah.
Because I saw it on your website, and I was just curious if there's.
I'm working on, hopefully within the next few months here, a foundation that will be created for Kansas City local women. It'll be a space where we travel, we are able to connect, entrepreneurship, wherever you are in your creative process, you're welcome there. It's just lining that all out on paper that I'm working through now. But I think I'm able to empower the most when I'm doing pop-ups, when I'm around people that are, you know, in the culture and in the scene, because that's where I'm my best self. That's who I am, you know, and that's when I'm able to really empower and provide that change.
I'm curious to follow that and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm interested too.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So what things are you currently learning and excited about that, you know, as you look out over the next couple of years? What kind of is like bubbling up inside you, and what are you learning?
Things.
What are you excited about? Yeah.
I'm excited about my life. Honestly, I think there's a lot of great things ahead. One of the big thing I'm most excited about is I'm about to do my first fashion show ever. It'll be here in Kansas City. Yes. Hey. Yeah. This will be the first time I've told anyone.
Wow.
So, yeah. It's going to be on Earth Day, actually, to support the sustainable movement.
Give me that date.
4/22.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not 4/20, 4/22. Okay.
Yeah. 2 days after the national holiday.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's something I'm working on. It's a whole new beast. I've not had a lot of experience in it, and I'm willing to admit that, but
where
I'm learning.
Are you doing this? This will be your own fashion show?
Yeah.
Where are you going to do this at?
At the T-Mobile Center, there's a little portion that's called the College Basketball Experience.
Okay.
It's really great. The mayor actually pushed for that space to bring the college basketball experience to tournaments.
Okay.
So they have the confetti for the kids to run through when they get on the basketball court. They have the national tournament, trophies there.
Yeah.
They have actual shoes worn by Jordan there. It's a really great experience for the younger community.
Sure.
A lot of kids travel there just to go there. So it's going to be a great space that'll be on a basketball court. I'm making a runway off of a basketball court.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, it's going to be great. It's going to be really cool.
So you have in your clothing line, are you doing tops, pants, hats, shoes, or you just
eventually I will do it all. I'm going to say that right here, right now. Yeah. Eventually I'll do it all. But right now I focus mostly on tops.
Okay.
Tops has been really where I connect the most.
Okay.
But pants is something I'm learning. I'm actually learning how to produce from scratch with patterns right now. And mostly I've been freestyling it and using old fabrics as patterns. But now I'm converting to a more refined way of production. So that you'll see that in the fashion show. It's going to be very, very high quality.
Very
stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, you'll have models?
Yes.
How many local models?
Yes, all local.
Very cool.
They'll range from, big influencers that are from here, from regular people. My front runner was 11 years old, and she's the daughter of a basketball player here in Kansas City. So
sweet.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. It's open to everybody. I'm going to have music in the beginning. There's going to be like a small session of the behind the scenes of making the runway show happen. It'll be about 7 to 10 minutes long. And then I'm going to have a small space for vendors in the back that are sustainable brands that will come and bring their products or their mission, and have a space to speak about it after the event.
This concludes today's episode. Thanks for tuning in and listening. Remember, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Remember to like, share, or subscribe to the social media platform that you're using. And then go to our website, spiritualityadventures.com, and make a one-time donation, or you can subscribe monthly and receive our special bonus content. Thanks so much.